She's
Totally changing it?
changing.
No, just we're changing from the dress to the skirt and top.
Because the dress was too short with the boots. I don't know how you manage.
Isabel, if you look at how you started, you started like over 32 years ago with your brand, already before that without doing show. If you look back at Isabel back then, what would you say to her?
Do not change anything. No, I mean, I must say I'm super proud of the way I could run the growing up of the company, because when I started I was quite naive is not exactly the word, but I was in French we say fougueux. I don't know what's the word in English. You're more like a young dog, you know. It's like you're full of energy and you don't have any restriction, and you just go into what you're doing with all your passion, and I think it's great. But sometimes you do mistakes, and of course from years to years I've learned my work. I was like very young. I was 22 years old, and of course there are things that you don't have the knowledge of course that I have after 32 years. At least that's a good thing, because that's what leads me also to go on, because I still feel that I can make better, and that it's each time one step.
You're still growing. You're still curious.
I still feel that I'm improving. So that's very joyful to have this feeling. The day I will feel I'm not improving anything, I will say maybe it's time to stop. I think with the pandemic situation, it really helped us to be even more organized and more straight to the point. Also to have a bit more time also for me, because we've been trained to work in télétravail. I don't know the name.
Through Zoom.
Through Zoom, and I really appreciate finally to have a moment for myself without the team, that I could really go back to the essence of the idea I had, because sometimes it's true that being always surrounded by hundreds of people asking you questions non-stop, sometimes you can get lost. And now I'm not going to the office at all on the Mondays, and I really have the Monday for me, and I love my Monday because it's a day for me. Sometimes I work on the collection, sometimes I don't. But I feel much more refreshed when I'm at the office, because I really have a better quality time for myself, and I think this is very important, and it's less tiring also, and it really helps me to be more concentrated.
Because you can push more on your ideas.
Yeah, exactly. I have some times for me to think about things and not be in a race from Monday to Friday, and then I'm collapsing on the weekend because I'm exhausted, and then I just want to do nothing. And
you never look exhausted, even not on the weekend, because then you're cooking for at least everybody who's in the house and trooping them along in the boots.
I think it's like really having another life next to my designing life that gives me power to be in shape for the work. I mean, the fact that I have a very great capacity of skipping straight away. If I'm out of the office, I know that I cannot achieve a lot of things, so I'm not like brainstorming all the time. I can really break it. On the weekend, I walk a lot in the forest, I swim a lot. I mean, sports is a huge help for me. It's very important to be very well balanced in your life. It's coming back to the high level sportive. I mean, if you want to win the Olympic, if you don't have a proper, a healthy life, then it makes it more complicated. And I mean, I'm not young anymore, I'm 54. And I quite love also the speed and the emergency and the fact of going over you each time. I think it's, I quite like the challenge of fashion. I mean, it's also in my DNA to have a rich, exciting life.
They're nearly all female, Isabel. Was this a choice?
Yeah, it's true that we are a lot of women. It was never a choice. It's happened like that. I think I have it's not that I don't have friendship with men, because in my private life I've got maybe more male friends than female friends, but I love the efficiency of women, because it's never about talking loud, it's about doing it. When we have to achieve something, it's done, that's it. And I think there's something. And another thing, most of all, I think, which is important for me, is that women designing women's wear, for me, they can project themselves much easier than men. And it's also this eye of a woman on her own garment that interests me also. There's something more natural for me.
So on one hand, it's like a very tribal way of working together, standing next to each other?
Kind of, yeah, because I mean, we are all different, and I love to have also the point of view of my team, and it's true that for me, it's easier to accept their comments than from a man.
And all different body types?
All different body types, yeah, that's very important, because I mean, we are not models, we have like different age, different body, different way of dressing up. Even if during my show I show a certain point of view, because it's the aim of a show, it's to be very sharp on something, but I never forget that at the end it's clothes that a woman has to wear, and for me it was always very important to take the word ready to wear literally. It's if I started to do fashion, it's also in thinking, what do I wear this morning, because I'm not really interested in doing spatial occasion garment. I want to do garment that you are going to live in and that going to follow you in your life.
Right now you see in fashion very much that people want to see themselves represented, also in the campaigns on the street and in the images. So we have plus size models, we have got the diversity of all people from different backgrounds, different colors of skin, different parts of the world. Yeah, this diversity is a big one. Do you think you would embrace that at a certain moment also? Because they're represented by the women that buy your clothing.
Of course. I was always doing that. If you look backwards, all my show, almost all the model will be black. Will be friends with different types of body and age. And when I started to be a bit more professional, and that I started to work with a stylist to help me to style my show, they started to clean a little bit that, and it was not so fashionable to have all those black girls. I always thought that black people are the most beautiful people of the world. I mean, body-wise, skin-wise, I was always so touched by black people.
The current dialogues that we have now in fashion. So we have on the one hand post-Me Too, Black Lives Matter, being closed up about it. The beauty of it is that actually we're having open conversations about it. I think that's a big change currently. Maybe it's because of the pandemic, that everybody started to reach out to each other through Zoom, in their own houses, walking down with the phone, cooking, calling each other. It became far more intimate, don't you feel?
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, no, that was very joyful when we were doing a Zoom meeting to see the universe of life of each one, the kids passing through the frame, seeing the decoration of the house of the people you are working every day, and finally you barely know who they are exactly, and that was very sweet to share something more intimate, of course, yeah. You know, for me, it hasn't changed so much, because I must say all those values about Me Too, Black Lives Matters. I've been raised up by a black woman, because like the last wife of my father was a Caribbean woman. So for me, I never had any eye on people's colors. I mean, it's like having blue eyes or brown eyes, or being brunette or blonde. I mean, that's not what I'm looking at. And I love people, I love culture, I think diversity was always something that brings you richness. That was also one of the starting point of my fashion, because what makes me made fashion was also the love for the craft of the world, and I was always very inspired by all what human being can be able to achieve with his hands. I mean, it's so amazing, the human being talent.
Yeah, it is very beautiful what you're saying right now, because you have always been such a big traveler, and you've always been inspired by your traveling, and with this big love for materiality, arts and crafts. You're the girl that goes to a museum and you're one day that you are in Shanghai because you really want to, and then you're glowing because you can truly see.
And it's so exciting and so feeding your creativity and make you thinking, it reminds me that, and that was that could be amazing. And it's true that it's so inspiring to me, yeah.
But at the same time, we're coming from this period in fashion that everything was possible. If you were traveling, you were inspired about traveling, you could also put this inspiration in your collection. Like we remember when John Galliano came with the train, I think it was the Gare du Nord train.
Yeah,
and
that was so beautiful.
We loved it. People were in tears. It was so
and
beautiful.
all the Maasai show he did was amazing. And it's true that nowadays sometimes it could be a real problem with all this. I must say I totally understand this problem of cultural appropriation, but I think nowadays things are too pulled into one side, and it's sometimes it's a bit too much. I think now it's time for exchange and sharing. And at that time I was a godmother for a design school in Mexico, and I used to travel a lot in Mexico for that, and I love Mexican art. Suddenly I think because of us, in a way, we enlightened this creativity and this art and the beautiness of those people that was not recognized in their own country. So by the end, and I'm so pleased that I had this conversation with the Ministry of Culture of Mexico, because honestly, if those blouses, I could have made them in Mexico who are making it, I will have been so pleased. That will be really what I would have loved to do. If their own government comes up with saying, okay, there's a real economy in that, we are going to train them to organize, that they can really produce things, I would love to share and make it in the way they are making it, because it's 10 times better than the way I'm going to do it.
Yeah, that to me is like a very positive example of just going into dialogue, you know, addressing.
Because, you know, for me, I totally understand that those tribes feel robbed by me, and in a way, it's totally true. But my aim in doing that was not robbing their art, it was enlightening their work, because I love what they are doing, and I wanted to share it with the world and not make profit out of their art.
Isabel, fashion is such a big industry, and France is built upon it. Since Louis XIV, Paris is also built on it. It shows us the sign of the times always. And you're the French darling now, like the Marianne of fashion, as I said. What do you feel is your responsibility with your message? Do you feel you can do something within your company to bring a message out through your designs? Tough question.
No, it's not a tough question, but it's true that it's not this kind of thing I'm thinking about. But I must say that one of the greatest compliments I have, it's when a woman comes to me and tells me, you know, you gave me some strength through your design. Due to you, I feel much more secure, much more powerful, because it's true that I always had a kind of issue with what I'm doing, being a bit against consumeration, and in doing fashion, in a way, I'm pushing people to consume. And for me, fashion, it's not about consummation, it's about pleasing the people who is going to wear your garment. One of the best compliments I get also, it's someone who told me, your clothes are old friends that we keep in our cupboards. And I think then you feel you've been achieving something deeper than just fashion and just consummation.
What does it make you feel?
I think it's just being very honest toward the way I create garment, being always sure that it's really something you want to wear, that you will keep, that you feel comfortable in, that you enjoy wearing, because I think clothes, and more nowadays, you just want to feel comfortable and you want to feel yourself. You don't want to have clothes that are too frightening to you, or that you're afraid to wear because it's going to torn, or because you cannot move in it, or...
You stay very close to yourself in that, and I feel also that you're in a way not even realizing the altitude of even power and responsibility that you might have, which is beautiful. You stay very close to you and what you're doing. But do you realize, to a certain extent, that you lead a lot of women towards freedom and liberty in their daily lives?
Yeah, I realize, yes and no. I don't realize it exactly, but there are so many women who are telling it to me, and it's a communication I have with women I'm meeting, and I must say I'm very proud if I could have bring that into women's life and into fashion.
Isabel, what would you say to designers right now who are starting and kick-starting? We have a pandemic, We're still in it, we're not out of it, yet we're maybe more secure on our feet.
I think what I always recommend to designers is to have a real personality and a real message. When you start, it's always difficult. The most important is to cultivate his own style and own message and personality, because there's a lot of brands, there's a lot of proposition, and I think nowadays it's what I find very exciting. It's that there's like many different styles next to another. There's like a lot of fashion is also proposing a diversity fashion.
That's new, huh?
Which is quite new. There's not like the diktat fashion like we used to have in the 90s or the 20s, when it was like miniskirt. Everybody was miniskirt. Now it can be sporty, dressy, boyish, whatever. I mean, there's rooms for all the styles. But I think you need to come up with something different, with something new, with something that belongs to you.
So don't try to be Isabel Marant, be you.
Yeah. You'll never be Isabel Marant, anyway.
My last question, Isabel. So we have this pandemic. People have been going through quite a rocky period, but there's also a lot of beauty in this search within, that people have come out with new solutions. Do you think we will go ever back to normal?
What's normal? Nothing is normal. I mean, in all our lives we had like breaking point. I mean, there's always things happening in the world. I think now what I really appreciate in the pandemic is that it forced people to stop a little bit, to have a break and to rethink a little bit. It gave us some time, finally. And it stopped a bit the race. And I think it really helped that to reconsider why we were doing things, how we want to do them. I don't think it's going to change like that. But it's much more in our consciousness, even if it was already before, because I think fashion people are very sensitive person, and we were all feeling that there's something wrong. But maybe it's going to help to be more focused on what is really important and put on the side the things that are not so much needed. And I mean, in our company, we always say, okay, we are not saving lives. So that's already since years and years. And I think sometimes when we have issues also, like I was saying about compromising on things, and it's very reassuring that we are all together, because it's also all together stronger, and that we can hold the situation with love and patience and hope.
Thank you, Isabel.
You're welcome.